Folks, what we are witnessing is nothing short of historic. President Donald J. Trump back in the White House is once again doing what he does best. He's shaking the very foundations of a corrupt and complacent establishment. This latest wave of pardons and commutations, announced just this past week in May 2025, is a thunderclap. It's a bold declaration that business as usual is over in Washington. The swamp creatures are in a panic, and for good reason. President Trump is not afraid to use his constitutional powers. He's using them to deliver what he sees as long overdue justice. This isn't just policy, it's a movement, a reckoning. The liberal media, of course, is in full-blown meltdown mode. They simply cannot comprehend a leader who acts decisively. President Trump's actions are dominating every news cycle, and rightly so. He understands that true leadership requires courage, not cowardice. He's making the tough calls, the ones others are too timid to even consider. This is the Trump agenda in action. America first, justice restored, and the forgotten men and women of this country are taking notice. Among those receiving clemency are names you definitely know. Reality television stars Todd and Julie Chrisley, pardoned. Let's talk about Todd and Julie Chrisley, folks. You know them from television, a seemingly perfect family. But they were convicted in what prosecutors called a $30 million bank fraud scheme. Todd received 12 years. Julie got 7. Harsh sentences, wouldn't you agree? President Trump certainly thought so, calling them unjust. He pardoned them, and on May 28, 2025, they walked free. Their daughter Savannah, who fought tirelessly, called it a miracle. They're now home in Nashville, reportedly planning a new show. A second chance, granted by a president who believes in redemption. But the critics are howling, aren't they? They scream that the Chrisleys swindled $36 million. Is it white privilege, as some on the radical left claim? Or is it a case of a system that sometimes overreaches, that overpunishes? President Trump looked at the facts, heard the pleas, and made his decision. He believes their sentences were disproportionate to the crime. Why is President Trump making these bold moves? What's his motivation? It's simple, folks. He believes our justice system has been compromised. He sees it as corrupt and in many cases weaponized against good people. He has stated that individuals like the Chrisleys and Hoover were victims. Victims of a system that overpunished them, that sought to destroy them. This isn't just about individual cases, it's about a systemic problem. A problem President Trump is determined to confront head-on. He's not just tinkering around the edges, he's aiming for fundamental change. He's fighting for fairness in a system that has often lost its way. This ties directly into President Trump's promise, no MAGA left behind. He sees many of his supporters, and even those outside his base, targeted unfairly. Targeted by a deep state that wants to silence dissent and crush opposition. These pardons are a way of rewarding loyalty, yes, but it's more than that. It's about standing up for Americans who have been railroaded. It's about showing that someone in power is willing to fight for them. He believes the scales of justice have been tipped by political agendas, and he's using his authority to try and rebalance them. This is a president who keeps his promises to the American people. Section 4, Liberal Meltdown, the unhinged attacks on presidential power. The reaction from the left to these pardons has been predictable, hasn't it? An absolute, unadulterated, five-alarm fire of outrage and indignation. They're accusing President Trump of everything under the sun. Undermining justice, they shriek. Favoritism, they cry. White privilege, they howl. It's the same old playbook, folks. Dusted off and deployed yet again. They cannot stand a president who exercises his constitutional authority boldly. They prefer leaders who are timid, who kowtow to the media narrative. President Trump is not that leader, and it drives them absolutely insane. Their attacks are becoming increasingly desperate and unhinged. They claim these pardons disproportionately benefit the wealthy or the well-connected. They point to cases like former Congressman Michael Grimm, pardoned for tax fraud, or former Connecticut Governor John Rowland, pardoned for political corruption. They even scrutinize the pardon of Paul Walsack, a former nursing home executive. Why? Because his mother made significant GOP donations. The horror. They conveniently ignore the broader context of justice and reform. They see conspiracy and corruption in every decision Trump makes. It's a tired narrative designed to distract from their own failures. They want to politicize everything, to tear down anyone who challenges them. Section 5, the silent majority roars. Patriots applaud Trump's courage. But while the liberal elites and their media mouthpieces are wailing, what about real Americans? What about the silent majority, the forgotten men and women of this country? They see something very different in President Trump's actions. They see a leader who is finally fighting back against a corrupt establishment. They see a president who has the guts to challenge the deep state. These pardons aren't viewed as an abuse of power by them. No, they are seen as a necessary corrective to an unjust system. A system that has targeted conservatives, patriots, and Trump allies for too long. President Trump is their champion, and his courage inspires them. For many, the justice system in this country is broken. It is weaponized. They've seen it with their own eyes, the political targeting, the double standards. They believe individuals like the Chrisleys were indeed victims of overzealous prosecution. They see the potential for redemption in figures like Larry Hoover, if genuine. These pardons to them are not about undermining justice. They are about restoring a semblance of fairness and balance. It's about a president who understands that the system isn't always right, and who is willing to step in when he believes a grave injustice has occurred. This resonates deeply with millions of Americans. Section 6. Defining a presidency, Trump's pardons and the battle for America's soul. So, what will be the ultimate legacy of these bold pardons by President Trump? Will history remember him as a champion of the forgotten man, a true reformer? Or will the liberal historians, the ones who despise him, paint him as an abuser of power? Frankly, his supporters don't care what the biased elites think. They see a president who fought for them, who challenged a corrupt system. These pardons are a key part of that narrative, a defining feature of his leadership. He's forcing a re-evaluation of what presidential power can and should do. He's not just occupying the office, he's actively using its levers for change. This is about a fundamental reshaping of the political landscape. The long-term impact on the American justice system is also a critical question. Do these actions set new, dangerous precedents for presidential pardons? Or do they highlight existing flaws and force a much-needed reckoning? Will public trust in the justice system be eroded, or will it be rebuilt on a fairer foundation? These are the questions America must grapple with, thanks to Trump's audacity. He has thrown down the gauntlet to a system many believe is failing. He's forcing uncomfortable conversations that are long overdue. The status quo was not working for everyone, and he's daring to change it. The debate itself is a sign of a healthy, if contentious, democracy. Consider the message these pardons send about accountability, for financial crimes, for gang leadership, for political corruption. Is President Trump saying these things don't matter? Of course not. He's saying that justice must be individualized, not one size fits all. That redemption must be possible, that sentences must be proportionate.